I'm going to be announcing who won the first day of the contest, and the movie will be coming out later today. Hey, James Pond, how's it going? How has the week been? Thanks for watching. And here, give me just a minute here, and we'll get going. But I'll go ahead and start by going through the contest, and then after that, I'll just go through. Did you win anything? Yeah, actually, well, yes, you won the very first one. So congratulations. I'll need to get with you and get Venmo or something. We'll work something out. But yes, you did guess correctly. You were on the ball with getting on the what reviews were going to come out first. So yeah, the way that the contest is working, every Friday a review is going to drop for a different type of horror movie. The first week today is Monsters in the Dark, and the movie is Alien. So next week, horror comedy. We're talking horror comedy next week. So James Pond, you did put an answer down, and anyone watching this, go to the playlist, which actually I'm going to put in the live chat now. So if you copy that link or click on that link, it'll send you to the playlist. And when you're on that playlist, you can, from there, just go ahead and enter your comments in the chat of those. And then whenever that premieres, watch, and you'll see if you won. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll get started. Actually, why don't we start with the strike. All right. So the vote for the strike started today. And there's no real news coming out about what anyone's saying. I don't know how how technically any of the stuff works with how the strike's going to happen. But I was on a show earlier today talking about the strike, and I would say the biggest thing people wanted to know is, like, what are the biggest reasons? I think a lot of news articles come out saying there are meal breaks, which if you're working on set, some of the culture has gotten to the point now where if you pretty much don't get any meal breaks, and you pretty much have to walk around and just kind of take your lunch like that, which is pretty degrading. I would say the union president is saying that isn't the biggest issue that they're looking for. The ones that they're really wanting fixed are that right now it is commonplace for people to work between 14 and 19-hour days at work, which one person who is a producer said that it is actually better for some people who have been in the industry for 3 years to quit working their 19-hour day jobs, go and work a normal shift at Trader Joe's, and they would make the exact same money, but for a huge reduction in hours. So that is something that I think they know is going to break large people away from the industry if they don't fix that. So yeah, the 14 to 19-hour work days, that one, whenever I lived there, I did not live there for very long, but the amount that you could hear people having to work, and this is still, I was there whenever COVID was still kind of shutting everything down, but that sounded brutal. That's one thing that they're wanting to change big time. The